Welcome to a lecture on creating emergency action plan. As a faculty member at Marshall University, especially teaching in the athletic training education program and teaching first aid, one of the most important things is being prepared for an emergency. And part of being prepared for an emergency situation is having a plan in place. And by part of that having a plan in place is some forethought into what you'll do in case of an emergency. Here at Marshall University, one of the things that is done, the policy is we call MUPD, the police department here on campus, tell them where we're at and what the emergency is, and they will get EMS to us. But for your assignment for this class, you have to create an emergency action plan for a facility not Marshall or Marshall affiliated. So for any business, preschool, daycare, high school you went to, middle school you went to, a business down the street, a business your parents might own, any of that's fine. Any business, any facility like that. So what you want to do is think about, in an emergency situation, how do I get emergency personnel to where I'm at? And one of the things to think about is information you know on a daily basis you may forget in an emergency situation. In an incident, as a personal incident, my wife's grandfather had a stroke about 8 years ago. At the time, they lived in his house for 35 years. When I went down to help out with this, because we live about 300 feet from them, our house, my wife and I, when I said go ahead and call 911, because it was very telltale, right down the list of signs and symptoms of a stroke, I said go ahead and call 911. When his wife called 911, she forgot the address of where they'd lived for 35 years. So in an emergency situation, it's very easy to forget things. So what we want to do, and during this time, it's a little bit windy out today, so if this blows off, I'll pick it back up and I'll just keep right on going and put it back up and we'll continue. But what we want to do is create a plan on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that in case of emergency call, so somebody can read right down that list and know exactly how to get EMS, fire, police, anything to where you're at. Because one of the things here, if I just say I'm at Marshall University when I'm calling 911, Marshall University is a big campus. Your high school may be a big campus. The business may be in a business center and they need directions, or it's a suite within a center. So if it's one room or a suite within a building, then you need to be able to tell them which door to come in, which elevator to take, which floor to go to, and which door to come to. And one of the best things to think about is having that in place prior to. We are also right beside Hal Greer Boulevard. And being beside Hal Greer Boulevard, there's quite a bit of traffic here. So if I pause for a second to let a motorcycle that just went by go through, or a large truck, then I'll just pause and then we'll just keep right on recording and allow that to be part of this. Because the thing about emergency situations, you never know where they're going to happen, and you don't know what's going to be going on around you that you're going to have to deal with, or people that you might have to deal with, as well as the emergency situation. So let's start this. Let's imagine this is my sheet of paper right here. And with this being my sheet of paper, what I want to put on this is the information to get emergency personnel to where I'm at. So, in case of emergency call, the universal number, what is it? Exactly, 911. One thing to remember, always state it as 911. Do not state it as call 911, because younger kids, and they think very concretely, especially youth, middle school and under, even down to, not so much middle school, but when you start thinking elementary school, even down to our older toddlers that may know how to dial 9 and a 1 and a 1 on a phone, they may look for the 11 if you teach them 911, because they're concrete thinkers. They're looking for the 11. So always teach it as dial 911 when you're doing this. The thing also to think about is, yes, that is the universal number for ambulance, fire, police, even terroristic problems, violence, different things. You can call that number for anything. And we have to consider all of these things in any facility, whether it's a mall, whether it's a movie theater. Different things happen in today's society. You just don't know what's going to happen, and you need to be prepared for each thing and have a plan for it in place. So with this, if 911 is out, what are you going to do? There was a case here in the tri-state area not long ago within the last year that a 911 center got struck by lightning and it's out, so there's no answer. Or there's a construction crew. Another thing that happened about 4 or 5 years ago, a construction crew is digging and they dig up a fiber optic line and take out the phone system to 911. Now what? Now what do you want to, who you want to call? How are you going to get the emergency personnel to where you're at? So consider also a plan B number. What's the other number? Is there another number you can call that could also contact you to whomever you need, whether it be ambulance, fire, police, whoever it is? And most people, especially kids today, anybody born since the realm of cell phones, probably never think of calling 0 for the operator. So you could also put on here, or 0 for operator. So if we call 0 for the operator, there is someone there on that other end that can get you to whomever you want to get. Or if you want to put some other numbers on here, like poison control, that you have to look up in this class, 1-800-222-1222. Memorize that number. If there's an accidental poisoning or a purposeful poisoning, if someone is in a distressful situation and they're depressed and they try to commit suicide by poisoning themselves, having that number handy is very important. And knowing your plan if there's a poisoning, to have whatever it was that was ingested or injected or inhaled handy so you can tell them what it was, read that information to them at the Poison Control Center, and they tell you exactly what to do while they're dispatching EMS to get to where you're at. If you don't remember that number, call 911 and tell them you have a poisoning. Tell them whatever it is the problem is, and they will get emergency personnel to you that you need. When you call 911 and they answer the phone, they'll say, 911 emergency, how may I help you? Or what is your emergency? State what the problem is. If you've already done things like survey the scene, and you've already know that somebody is unconscious and not breathing, and it's an adult, and you're calling 911 and getting ready to go back and do CPR, then you know to say, hey, I've got someone that's unconscious and not breathing and no pulse. I need to go do 911 as an adult. I know CPR, and I'm going to go continue doing that. Let EMS disconnect, 911 disconnect from you. Do not hang up on them. Let them get the information they want first, and then let them hang up. What's great if you have a facility, there's more than one person working, is one person's taking care of the emergency scene, another one is doing this, where they're going in and getting EMS to where you're at. So if I don't know anything, and I forget everything that I've ever learned and everything I ever know, I know, okay, in case of emergency, call 911. I know what to do first. The other thing to consider is, are you at a hotel or somewhere that you have to dial 9, then 911? If so, have 9-911. If you have to have that in your sequencing to get an outside line. So once we get that person and we have EMS on and we call them, we tell them what our problem is, there's a few things to have on here so you don't have to remember, or the person doesn't have to remember what's going on. If you create one of these for your home and you have a babysitter, they don't have to know your address, your phone number, anything to tell EMS for a landline. If you have a landline there, I would encourage you to have one if you're going to have a babysitter, because they may not know the address and things unless you have a plan in place and if they use their cell phone to call 911 with. So when we do this, a couple things, several very important things to have on this plan to remember. One is your physical address. Exactly what is the address that you're located. Here at Marshall, it's 1 John Marshall Drive. That doesn't tell me much. It's a large campus. It could be anywhere on campus this emergency is going on. So if you're calling directly, have the physical address, and then number 2, you want the actual driving directions of where you need to get someone. So typically, if I give somebody directions how to get to my house, I say, you go up this road, you go past this speedway, you turn left, and go over a little hill or knob, and what you'll see is a tall, 2-story yellow building, a house. Turn right into the gated drive right after that, and that's how I get them to my house. For this plan, we do not want directions like that. You want very specific plans. You want plans that state north, east, west, south, mileage, road names and numbers, so that if you're calling, you say it's Route 17, go 0.4 miles or 1.4 miles and turn east onto whatever road. So very specific driving directions of how you're going to get EMS to where you're at. So let's say to getting someone to a Summit Elementary School out in Boyd County, Kentucky, I would say from US Route 60, turn west onto State Route 716, go 0.4 of a mile and turn left into the school. And then have directions from there of what they need to do. Somebody out there to meet them to get them to where they need to be, where the emergency is. If I'm by myself, then have a phone close enough that they call back looking for me because they can't find me, that I can give them more specific directions. So things that we need for sure, we need to be able to, a number for 911. So we just have to read it. We don't have to remember it. You'd be amazed at what people forget. Second thing is a Plan B number, a second number that can be called, whether it's a direct number to ambulance or a list of direct numbers to fire, ambulance, different things. I'd recommend a universal number 0 for operator. And then physical address of where you're at, the driving directions of where you're at. So you're giving them plenty of information. And then the third thing you'll want, the phone number, calling from. The phone number you're calling from. That way, if they have to call you back, they can. Because some people do these funny things with their cell phones in which when they call someone, it makes it look like a different number. So if you do things like that, playing around with your cell phone, and you call 911, they may see some weird number. Or if you've moved from Oklahoma here to Huntington, you can keep that cell number you had in Oklahoma with an Oklahoma area code. And it becomes basically like a local number here with a lot of cell providers now. It used to be you had to change to a local number, but they quit doing that. You didn't have to change to a local area code and a prefix now for a number. So know all this information. Know exactly what you need. Put it on here so you don't have to remember it, and that you can get emergency services to where you're at with very little effort of just reading down this piece of paper that you have posted above the phone. And then at the bottom, what you can do is do a thing called special tips. This special tips part, you can tailor it to whatever you're doing it for. So if you're doing it for someone's business and you're an employee there, the number one on special tips is once the emergency is taken care of, you call the owner or the CEO or whoever it is, the manager, and report it to them so they know they need to come to the store because something major just happened, or to that place of business. Or the phone number for the cell phone number for you if somebody's babysitting, and this is for your house, you have your cell phone number on there and a second cell phone number of maybe your parents or grandparents or someone else for emergency contact. So the babysitter has these numbers to call in case they, for whatever reason, can't find it in their cell phone. They can't find it where you've written it down on a piece of paper and laid it on the counter, because my 3.5, almost 4-year-old will probably take that piece of paper so he can draw on it. And he can do what he calls work and do his own work and draw on it, and it'll end up under the couch or something, and then they wouldn't have the number to call. So when you think of the emergency action plan, think of emergency preparedness. In case of an emergency, here's what I need to do. I don't have to remember it. I can just go through the steps. It's listed on this piece of paper. Tape it to the wall beside the phone that's going to be used. If it's a portable phone in the house, shrink it down, put it on some adhesive, put it on the back of the phone, just so they can just look at it and know what to do. The other thing you can also do is if you're using it at a baseball field or something for a school, you want a different plan for the different places, for the different venues. So if it's an athletic field, you have one for the football field, because they come in a certain gate for it. They may have one for the baseball field, one for the softball field, one for the soccer field, one for the gymnasium, and then a separate one to come in the front office of the school to be able to go to wherever they need to go in the school. So this can be tailored once they get to the address. The special tips can say, tell them to come to this gate. Tell them to come to the north side of the school, come in door B, and go to the end of the hall. And somebody will be there to meet them at the outside door. Whatever it is, you can plan for that ahead of time so that you don't have to worry about trying to remember everything you need to know about that location or that facility. Whoever is sent the call can just read the plan. So as you work on your assignment in this class, remember these steps. Go back and review the PowerPoint, the introduction PowerPoint, because it has a bunch of information with some annotation to it, a lot of what I just said, with some annotation of things to think of, things to have in your plan. Also, in the assignment for this of creating emergency action plan, there is a sample emergency action plan. You can use that exact sample as your model and just type that information from your location on a piece of paper, and it will work perfectly fine. I will not, as not considered plagiarism in this case, because I'm telling you, use that for a template. Just get your own information. So if I'm MapQuest or Google Earth this information, I can see you've done a location. If I do a reverse phone number lookup, it'll take me to that location so I can find it. So your assignment will be create an emergency action plan for a facility. I would also encourage you, once you create this, to give them a copy of it and say, hey, I'm working on this for a class project. I would love to be able to do this and use your facility as the address and location to make this information, make this plan, and I'll give you a copy when I'm done. And also give you a copy of any comments the instructor, which me, I will give you comments or any feedback. If I give you a perfect score and say good job, it looks good, then I think it's good the way it is. And you can use it for that facility, give them a copy of it, and go from there. So make an emergency action plan. For your home, we make escape routes for our homes in case of fire, especially when we have children. We make sure they can get out of the house. Make sure we can get emergency personnel in the house if we need to. Make sure we can get them in our place of business if we need to. Good luck with this. If you have any problems with it or any questions, feel free to send me an email in Blackboard, and I will reply to those within a day or two. Thank you and good luck.